experience and what my observation of watching them, not only as a person, a human being, but as my duty as a corpsman, because my sole responsibility is, keep an eye at them, like they say in the saying, you take care of your guys, they're going to take care of you. And
Exactly.
And I saw a lot of changes. And then one thing that crossed my mind a lot about the Marines from 1-8, all throughout the whole battalion, not just my company. I was more the older, since this was always my second, tour of duty. And so I was, to me, being old in the infantry division, I was probably like 24, 24, 25, right? But most of the guys and, these Marines are about 19, 18,
Right.
20. And as a corpsman, I always felt, you got to keep your sense together, keep your bearings straight, things happen, you got to be straight. You got to be the one that, they could look up to you and then say, things going to be all right. Cause Doc's not tripping. He's not, he's
Right.
not, he's okay. He's over there telling, hey, you'll be all right. Fucking, but oh yeah, a lot of things that crossed my mind is what all these Marines went through, and plus a lot of the leadership that when I was with 1-8, as far as Commander Jadek, who was our battalion commander, who went on to write a book, and it was called On Call in Hell.
Oh yeah.
And it's basically, you heard about it?
Yes, I did.
Okay, yeah. And yeah, so basically, for those who don't know, it was about the doctor, his experience in through Fallujah with 1-8, and what he went through as far as personally and professionally. Pretty good book. I've read it, and it sticks with me, and it does. And a lot of guys, and also I want to say, people like H1, who is now chief, probably retired now. Well, he's a doctor now. I really stay away from social media and stuff like that. I just, kind of. But last time I seen him, he was a doctor, Dr. Brian Zimmerman, and but at the time of 1-8, he was our leading petty officer.
Oh, wow.
And leadership like that, like he was one of the type of guys that loved to educate us, loved to teach. The same thing was with Commander Jadek, and I think most of everybody, most of a lot of corpsmen, we always try to question, like, or quiz each other, hey, do you know how to do this, and that? And if you didn't know, come on, let me show you. And that's basically, overall, it makes me think that's how basically overall how it was as being a corpsman in the Navy. Most of the experience was on the job training, especially when I did it with my first command. Everything was, I showed up. I showed up, and this is another story. And somehow I ended up in OBGYN.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah. I showed up. It was about like, let's see, because I joined in May 2001. And I went through boot camp over in Great Lakes, Illinois.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And did my ACE, and they did my ACE school there too. And
Really?
so so around July through November, because it's a 14-week, medical school basically. Teach you all the basics and everything. And when I showed up for my first duty, oh yeah, it was my first duty. I didn't know. I think they must have mistaken my name as Christina.
Oh man. Oh,
yeah, because when I showed up, I remember showing up and showed up to the quarter deck. I did what I had to do, this and that. Hospital recruit Rueda, reporting for duty. Oh yeah, you just show up over here with Chief, talk to Chief. I think it was Ecker or somebody at the time. And I remember they're looking at me, and overall they're just looking at me, looking at my orders. I'm like, do you have somebody in the Navy? Do you have uncles? You have family? It's like, no. He's like, okay, well, I need you to report to the Women's Health. He said Women's Health Center. So Women's Health Center. So you're going to go down here, take a ride in the hallway. You're going to pass CSR. Take a right when you hit CSR. You're going to say across the building, across the way, you're going to see internal medicine. On the other side, that's where you're going to go. And then I remember he didn't say any OBGYN. He's just like, that's where you're going to go. So to me, it was probably a surprise or something.
Right.
But I remember showing up, looking, all right, okay, internal meds. And they had the walls, they were all windows, or clear glass, windows, paint, well, whatever you want to call it, panels. And I look to the left and I look and I see all the seatings around and I see nothing but women. And then I look up, OBGYN. I was like, oh man, I started sweating. I remember going in and then reporting. And I remember when they told me, it was like, hey, are you here to see your wife? Or, say, no, I'm the new corpsman and a new guy. And so much. Oh man, I remember begging my chief, please, chief, get me out of here. I'll work in the OR. I'll work psych. I'll do the 12s. I'll do anything. Please. Finally, they did. I had a chance. So I did about 9 months with OBGYN. And at the time, this was right after 9/11, the Navy had a very low, I would say they didn't really have enough personnel as far as master of arms.
Okay.
They didn't have enough Navy police, MPs. And at the time, I believe they were looking for people so bad that if you converted, if you transitioned to one rating to another, one rating into the master of arms, that all you had to do, this was the stories, that all you had to do is just write your name in the test and blah blah blah, and you'll pick up E4, no problem. Well, that was how bad they were. They needed people over, and this was over in Naval Air Station, Jacksonville, Florida. And it was a pretty big station right by the St. Johns River. And then, and from there that's when I kind of my first experience with other people, because our instructors were Marine for the Auxiliary Security Force.
Yep.
So I did that whole good 2-week training, and then I did a lot of guard watch, river watch, gate watch, a lot of fun times. I met a really good friend of mine too, and he was a corpsman too, Jacob Longoria. And I met him because he was from Houston also, and that's where I met him, and that's how I kind of got I guess I would say he kind of winged me into, because he already came from 2nd Marine Division. He was with if I believe he was with 3-8. I'm sorry, Jacob, if I said it wrong. It's 3-8. One of those brothers, one of his sisters, one of his sisters' battalions. And he was already, he'd been to Kosovo, I believe Kosovo, and he told me about those times and everything, and how it was with division, especially as a corpsman. And he told me, things like, hey, you wouldn't have no problem, this and that. You seem pretty level-headed. You're not, my background, I played a lot of basketball all growing up. So I was basketball, track runner. So me running, it was nothing. I'll run. I boxed a little bit.
Admit that a lot of basketball players don't want to say they like to run. So that's an oxymoron for the military intelligence right there.
Thanks to Coach Price and the coaches at Galena Park. I couldn't play. They wouldn't let me play football, and because during the times that they wouldn't, as a basketball player and me being one of the main ones, they didn't want me getting hurt. So I had to either do basketball, and then when that was off season, the only thing I could have done was track. So But after that, that's when I went over to division, and that's when I got my orders up in December 2003, and I had to go through field medical service school. What I think they call it now, field medical service technician school, and this was over in Camp Johnson over in North Carolina, and it was right next door to Camp Lejeune, and I did that. The only memory I have that comes up to mind, that it was cold and miserable. Me being from the South and coming from Florida, and then I transitioned. I went through the whole training during January all the way through March. So I hit the real. I can say that there's a lot of people that dropped out. A lot of people dropped out. Hypothermia. Cold injuries. Um, but I was one of those ones. I was just, I kept going because the way I looked at things, I was like, hey, we're all in the same boat. We're all in the same shit. It sucks. Oh yeah, it sucks. But I'm glad you're here with me. So we'll make it sucks. We'll get through we'll get through it together. And that was the mentality usually
Right.
that I did to push through all those times.
I mean, you went through. I mean, the training is one thing, but that prepares you for something that you really didn't understand. You probably didn't understand what you were getting into when you got to Iraq, and you
Right.
got on the action platoon. You were on there with the Iraqi police, and then you went into the battle for Fallujah. I was at the first side of Fallujah in the
Mm-hmm.
first one I voted for. Probably was it April? April
Yeah.
when we first
Okay.
stormed Fallujah, and
Yep.
we got called back because of it wasn't what we were supposed to be doing at the time, basically. And
Yeah. Yeah.
our fight went to Ramadi, Iraq, and I was with 2 4 Marines, the magnificent bastards at the time. Great dudes,
Uh-huh.
great bunch of dudes. It took a lot of getting used to fighting with Marines at that time. I mean, you understood being a Navy guy going in and fighting with the Marines, but fighting with Marines is a totally different ballgame, especially for an Army dude.
Okay.
You
Okay.
train one way, they train with a totally different mentality. It's a
I heard stories.
velocity of fire and grenades first and then kick doors and stuff. But
Yeah. Pretty
we
much.
learned on the fly how to fight together. And Ramadi was a
Exactly.
hellhole. And we knew when we left around September, right when I think you just got wounded just before that,
Yeah.
July. I think,
July
uh,
15. 15. Yeah, that's when we got hit. I was part of a combined action platoon with
right,
weapons company. And you know what's weird? I try to look for stuff online, anything to have to do with in 2004 with Haditha and all that. Yeah, I can't find anything. I do find some little maybe publications about the
right,
program, and I do find a lot with 3-4. And but that there we stayed in that police station for, see, we got there in June. We probably were forced to leave around, right, I would say around September. So we were there for a good at least 3 months, over more 3 months, just living there. And we got we I would say we all got to personally experience, some of their cultures, their food,
right.
because of course we got tired of the MREs, and they told us, the Army, they told us, don't eat their food because the fertilizer they use is human feces. Don't eat it. And we didn't. We gave, it was probably like 38 of us, 40 including Captain Keneally and our gunnery Sergeant Collins, and so they stayed with us at the police station, which is pretty cool. It shows like, hey, our captain's here, our leadership's here. They're here with us.
Yeah.
I mean, we got tired of MREs, and we finally like, hey, let's get these guys. I think we gave them at least $10, and we'll come back. One of the lieutenants, well, we used to give it to one of Lieutenant Abdul. I believe his name was Abdul or something. And he'll come back, give him $10. He'll come back with a carton, and he'll have, oh man, really delicious 2 roasted chickens. And then inside of it, it had their vegetables. I would
Bread.
say pita bread.
Hell yeah.
Oh, 2 slabs,
Hell yeah.
huge slabs of lamb, huge. Oh, hey, I have pictures in one of our yearbooks where we made a taco, and they weren't really sure. Yeah,
Texas man, come on.
yeah, because there's no utensils there. Everybody eats with their hand, with the right hand, or with the pita, and you grab and well, we were so used to tacos, so what we did, when they looked at us, they looked at us like we were crazy, like what? Oh, you know, probably gluttony or something. Look at these guys. That's no wonder why they're so obese. But we were just stacking it. Mrs. Dash, because we always had Mrs. Dash.
That's yeah.
Pour it in, taco. We have one of our picks. I think it was Clean. He was holding a taco, and I was in the back, my tall ass, and then I had the police chief here, and then one of the members, I would say clergy members, but yeah, we were there, and then it was, man, after, and then going back as a corpsman, and what I saw after we got hit by the VBIED was I saw it changes. Like even one of the other corpsmen I was with there, Sutton, at the 2 years Ancient 2 Sutton, and he was looking at me, he was telling me, look, you see, I want you to go check out and go look at, I think it was clean. I think it was clean. So go look at him, go look where he's at and see. He said, that's a sign of like, and at the time we called it shell shock. We weren't really PTSD, those terms yet, this is 2004.
Yeah, that wasn't.
And so we went in and I looked at him, seen him, and he was, kind of like, we're in more of a safe place, like almost where it used to be a closet. And he's in there and he just looks pale white, eyes open. And it's like, oh, okay, all right. I see. And then that's when I started seeing changes, man. Everything from I can't do with this, but an empty bottle,
right?
When you crush it, it sounds like an AK,
Right.
So when somebody like, everybody jumps, everybody's jumping, and then everybody gets mad.
Box in the road.
Why? And since we lived in the police station, we heard a lot of like the jail cells and everything. They were all downstairs, and we were upstairs, and there was a lot of like, man, slamming, a lot of. These. There's one time I had a door watch. I was on door watch, and then I just seen a bunch of the Iraqi police come out from the bottom, and they came out, and we just gave them some asps. Those asps.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So them was brand new to them. So you saw all of them come out. Something they had captured some guy. I don't know too much of the detail of it. I was just like, man, at the time I was like, fuck that motherfucker. So but they said, hey Doc, I need you to come here, and I need you to help this guy. I think his arm's broken. They just beat the crap out of him and shit. And I said, yeah, I fucking heard. I heard it from all the way here. It sounded like the guy was like suffering, like man, I never heard a man like whine, like cry like that, man. It was crazy. I was like, holy shit. I'm like, damn. And I remember going in there, and we were like almost like an interrogation room. And I remember the interpreter was there. My captain was there, and I had one of the other Marines there. I forgot who it was, but I remember just saying, I looked at his arm, and it was open fracture. And I told him, there's not much that I can do. He needs to go to the hospital. I can splint it, I can mobilize it, but there's nothing much that I can do here. And then I was like, okay, we'll just do that. And he told him. And at the time, I'll never forget this, but this guy, he looked like a big old husky guy, and he was just laughing. Ha 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 ha. He said something.
Yes,
Meriki, and then like
chocolate.
Yeah, and the interpreter was looking, and he's like, Captain goes, what do you say? He says, well, you call this democracy where the Iraqi police beat us and the U.S. treats us? I was like, okay.
Yeah.
It didn't really process. I was like, oh well, because it was still early. It was about 2004, and there's so much going on.
And you were still young in the service, and
much, yeah.
Things that you went through just prior to our retaking of Fallujah, I guess we'll call it at this point. I don't want to call it an invasion. It wasn't really an invasion. It was a taking back of what should have been rightfully the people of Iraq, and we freed them of the oppression of basically ISIS in Iraq at the time, or Al Qaeda in Iraq at that time. Actually,
it
was Zarqawi was in charge.
Zarqawi, that was the main guy. Zarqawi was the main guy, and after we disbanded the Cap platoon, I went and helped one of my other corpsmen, and he was dealing double shifts. Because we had with a Mobile Assault Platoon, 2 sections, and he was doing one section and having to go out because how we would rotate one section stay as QRF, the other one goes out for 2 weeks at a time or however many days. It's just and we did it. I ended up helping out because when we came back to the dam, which we were stationed at the Haditha Dam by the Euphrates. By the way, it's man, the river is beautiful, dude. It is beautiful.
At the dam, it's hard to explain what it looks like based on our experience. Both of our experience there is combat related. So if we speak about something being beautiful in combat, be like, oh, something's wrong with you. Yeah, something is wrong with us. It's not the recollection of what we saw. The recollection of what we saw, the Haditha Dam, that whole area was beautiful, and it was that was a contested area to hold the Haditha Dam area. You guys were there. We were there prior to you with our armor guys, and the fighting there was constant. And the enemy always wanted to take that dam because it was obviously a strategic point. Yep. And when you guys took over, it was just something new for you guys to do. Yes. For your mission set, basically. And it was a little tougher.
Yeah.
Than what you thought would it be?
Yeah. When we got there, a lot of I was mostly at the police station, so I had little knowledge of what was going outside. Even whenever we got attacked with the car bomb that day, the VBIED attack, it took them, because this happened like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, over in the main market area right in front of the police station. Good thing with the guy, one of the Marines that he was up there, he saw everything, and luckily we didn't take the whole impact of the damage, because I guess when the guy came out, it turned. He just saw a guy. He said he saw the guy leave out the vehicle. It looked like a U-Haul vehicle, and it hit when it was going. It was because where it was coming from, it's a downhill. Right. And I guess when he was going down, it hit the bump, I guess the corner, and it, instead of going straight towards us, it turned. Right. And so most of the direct blast went that way instead of where it's supposed to go this way, right? So when it went that way, everything from that area obliterated, everything from this area obliterated. A lot of civilian casualties.
Definitely. And I mean, their goal wasn't just to attack us; it was to attack the infrastructure. Yeah. I mean, you went through that, and then of course you guys realized that your orders were going to change as the ticking of the clock started. The ticking of the clock started at that point, and hey, we have to take Fallujah. And I'm going to show a quick video here.
Yeah,
hopefully you're all right with it.
Go ahead.
New video of street-to-street fighting in Fallujah was released late on Wednesday. The footage shows U.S. Marines facing a resistance while advancing through the narrow streets of one of the neighborhoods of Fallujah.
Hey, he's in the garage! Yeah! He's in there! We got friendlies on the road! Everybody, frag out! Frag out!
We thought that everything was clear. We've had the guys on the roof, and we went over to get that guy. We pulled back with the squad, and they've got propelled to us and tried to shoot me. And then my buddy Paul threw a frag at me. I tripped over the body of theirs, not ours, fortunately, and made it back here. Now we're trying to get the guy out, take care of business.
Surgent fire is neutralized, and they continue with their house-to-house clearing activity. Throughout the day, Americans hit the militants with our street and market, as well as the insurgent stronghold of Jolan, one of several neighborhoods where troops were skirmishing with militants. At least 71 militants had been killed by early Wednesday, the third day of intense urban combat. As of Tuesday night, 10 U.S. troops and 2 members of the Iraqi security forces had been killed. Javier Salinas, Associated.
Oh, man.
I mean, I know that brought some flashbacks.
So fat. Brendan, you're not fat.
You need to know that stuff right there. Again, I don't want you to relive
Look at Nate. His true classic is tight around the chin.
Well, it brings up a point that I wanted to bring up. And if you notice a lot when we're in there and when we shot inside a building, remember how the echoes is just bah, and well, from the first VBIED when I was right by the window. I had slipped by the window. So whenever that happened to one of the Haditha, somehow I made it in the middle. And I remember everything just coming. I was like, I don't know how long I was unconscious. It couldn't have been that long. But I remember everything coming back slowly. Like almost if you ever box and you got hit in the head or you got punched and everything goes white, bah, and you're like, holy shit, you can't see anything. Yeah, and everything's just slow. And everything was going slow. And then another bomb hit because they attacked the Iraqi the ISF security post down the street. There's a lot of stories before that, and why I think we were attacked. It's. Oh. Well, anyways, back to the point is with the concussion blast, right? Now, lately I've been going to school for medical coding and building to get my certifications. Before I was working with the Veterans Evaluation Services, helping veterans process their claims, getting everything if they need diagnostic exams or anything. So basically, we're contracted by the VA, and help the number of. Of course, we know we have a bunch of veterans trying to put in the claims, and one of the main issues is the backlog, right? The backlog.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So going through this and everything, I've noticed, and we've noticed. Well, it all started with the discussion and with the endocrine gland, with the human growth hormone, and one of the discussions was, find a disease or condition, that's related from the human growth hormone, tell the pros and cons, this and that. Well, when I did my research, I did the first thing I looked, men's health, because I remember there was just one thing about blast injuries or something. And there was a doctor by Charles Wilkinson, and he started this study back in, I believe it was 2011, that he wanted to. Now, the problem was, here's the problem. Before 2022, before I say, because this is current now, something I just found out, before October 1st, 2022, there was no code for blast injuries to the brain. There was blast injuries in the code with the ICD codes that they use to, for diagnostics and for medical purposes and billing purposes and stuff like that. There wasn't no code for blast injuries. There was nothing. So the study was barely touched on. Now, here's the problem. Here's the thing that Dr. Wilkinson thought of. He says, well, the same symptoms that people experience with PTSD kind of overlap the same symptoms as people with dysfunctions in their pituitary gland, mainly the anterior pituitary gland, if I remember right. And this is the gland that's more associated to producing your growth hormones, right, and other hormones to keep balance within your body, homeostasis. Well, he came to a conclusion that they did the blast injuries. Well, let me go back a little bit. The traumatic brain injury cases from civilians, when they did blood work and all the above, they found they had a dysfunction in the pituitary gland, and and most common was the lack of production of growth hormones. And well, the same symptoms that you have from a lack of the growth hormones or from the productions or anything related towards a dysfunction, of some of the hormones. And it wasn't only that, it was oxytocin and some other ones. But it's like I said, it overlaps almost the same symptoms as PTSD. Now, from my experience, I went through so many medications. A lot of them like, oh, well, this doesn't work. Well, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. This one, oh, Zoloft, all that stuff, this and that. Now, here's the deal. This is until from the VA, from the research and development from the VA, that now there is a new ICD-10 diagnostic code that will promote better care for veterans and others with blast injuries to the brain. Now, which this means that veterans now, with like we just saw, a lot of those, what I've experienced myself and being there, a lot of the Marines, they experience a lot of these close, even English soldiers and sailors, not just Marines, but as far as my point of view, my guy, they experience a lot of the blast injuries, a lot of close, I would say, some even concussions. And some of the stuff is just constantly, even like when we just saw there inside the buildings, that loud. I mean, it doesn't seem much, but when you're there and shooting around or anything inside a building like that it's loud. It's really loud. And then especially we had tanks there, right? We had the M1 Abrams. when they shot off, oh, you felt the shock and awe. You felt it. It was just whoa.
And that
It was that close.
you didn't
you
just
know?
have the tanks. You had some tow missiles in there. You
Oh
had
yeah, my tow gunner. My gunner was a tow gunner.
right.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Of course, the Marines were still carrying light anti-tank weapons at the time, so a squad member can come up with a law and blast that right in front of their brother, and the noise was deafening to everyone around them. And I'm sure, I guess, hearing loss is probably one of the biggest things for a lot of
Yes.
along with TBI, which was diagnosed way later. I mean, this is 2004. They weren't talking about TBI in 2004. It wasn't until I was probably in Afghanistan 2010, 11 when they started to actually say, hey, there's this thing called TBI. And a lot of people didn't understand what that meant. And until I got blown up in 2012 where, hey, you have TBI. No, I don't. I'm good. I'm fine. It's the same stuff that happened all these other years. There's no way I have something wrong with me. And you as a medic, I know you treated a lot of dudes and that were hit with many things in that time. And then having to see it now on the other side, you can see, oh man, maybe I wasn't trained properly, or maybe I didn't understand what was going on at the time because you were just a young dude. And in hindsight, it's 2020, of course. So knowing now what TBI is and seeing all the things looking back to Fallujah or even to Haditha Dam when the police station explosion, you can actually look and close your eyes and say, well, damn, everyone I was with has TBI. There's no way they don't have TBI.
Right. And then that's to me, because I'm still in the medical field, to me, that's great news for veterans because that will improve as far as quality of care, and getting the right treatment. So as far as like, I think I have an appointment coming up soon, and it's something I'm gonna discuss, as far as, see if I, maybe I can get some blood work, check this and that, because she knows I've gone through so many meds. My psychiatrist, she knows I've gone through some meds. She knows I don't like taking medications. The most she prescribes me now, because I tell her, I don't want to, no way. No, I don't like the way I feel. I'm naturally hyper, so, and so she just gives me multivitamins and Benadryl, basically, the 50 milligrams. Yeah.
Benadryl helps everything.
Oh yeah. You have trouble sleeping, popping.
You got a broken leg, Benadryl.
Benadryl. Awesome. Change your socks. Make sure you change your socks.
Yeah. Change your socks.
Yeah. So to me, that's a great news, because then going back, not only the quality of care and the treatment that we'll be able to more focus on, but also veterans now they're able to be more specific in their claim, and I see this in perspective as working with veterans evaluation services. A lot of claims and a lot of things that we're seeing, and especially for the older generation, that I noticed was a lot of cardiovascular disease. Now, get this: a lot issues with the pituitary gland, say from traumatic brain injuries. It increases the risk, low growth hormone production in your body. Of course, naturally, as we get older, it goes away. But we're talking about, we're 25, we're young, and this is happening to these guys. That can increase,
no way this is happening.
Right. It could increase the risk for cardiovascular diseases.
Right.
Starting from atherosclerosis. Yeah. And that occurs naturally, but we're putting stress and all that stuff in our veins. It's just increasing, or hardening in our vessels, arterial vessels. Right. So it's like I said, to me, that's good news. And this that came out, it was just October 3rd, 2022. And I have here, this is I kind of smirked at this, and it's like, oh wow. But it says the new ICD-10 code for primary blast injury of the brain is necessary to understanding, diagnosing, treating, and better understanding the injury. Meaning we knew it was out there. Of course, they knew it was out there. But as a provider, I try to put myself in the provider's position. They're more focused as what's there. What are we allowed to diagnose? I can't just say this, but what code? Because we have to do a code that, we have to get paid. Right. And so I think this opens up more
Right.
as far as more research and more, as far as treatment plans,
Well,
as far as
definitely.
that goes. Yeah. Yeah. Instead of having to run through somebody for a long time. And, some people like group therapy. Some people, you know, they, you know, they may feel it's almost like they may feel something is wrong,
Right.
but they feel they have their PTSD in control because, like me, you got to respect it. You got to know when it's coming on. But then there's other issues that come around, like, oh, well, why the moodiness? Why is this? Why am I have trouble sleeping? And I never thought about it until I did my little research from school
Right.
about the growth hormones. And sure enough, just, you know, yesterday I found this, when I went to the VA and I said, let me look at the update because this study was done back in 2011 to 2013.
I'll say
Well,
11 and 13, big research period. Yeah.
but sure enough, as time went by, he has his publications. He is publicized in one of the neuroscience journals, and a lot of big, I would say, help from a lot of organizations, petitions to the CDC, from the VA saying, hey, this needs to be a new diagnosis. This is something that we need to see because with modern warfare, a lot of veterans, I would say veterans, and I would say soldiers, Marines, anybody involved with modern combat, they're exposed to a lot of these blast injuries.
Yes.
A lot of this.
And the blast injuries we're exposed to now, they're no different than those who came before us in World War II,
Right.
Vietnam. It's just more documented now, and
Yeah.
their struggles have led to our findings as far as medical times right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take a break right now, Chris, and we'll
sir.
be back in about 45 seconds.
In a past life, he was himself. If opportunity knocks and he's not home, opportunity waits. He gave his father the talk. He is the most interesting man in the world.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis. Stay thirsty, my friends.
So welcome back to the Misfit Nation, here with Chris Rueda out of Houston, veteran of the U.S. Navy, veteran corpsman, green side corpsman, and blue side corpsman, Battle of Fallujah. We're talking about what he went through and what he's going through now. Right now, if you're on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. The more subscribers, the better our reach is for our veteran family. The more we can help in the future. So, Chris, again, thank you for being willing to come on here and share.
Thank you.
And as you've transitioned now for a little while, and I know you got embedded into the VA system around I think 2010, I believe.
Yeah.
So you've seen from 2010 to where we are now, 2022. You've seen the changes in the VA system in that time. I mean, when you first went in there, it was, hey, here's this bag of pills. Do this. This is all you need to do is take these pills and you'll be fine because we don't need to see you every week. Now it's they're kind of going to this holistic treatment period now. Something that you even when you went through corpsman school, you weren't taught that stuff. The holistic approach to treating a soldier, a Marine, or a fellow sailor. It was, hey, here's some Motrin, here's some Benadryl,
right,
some tape. You're all right. Get back out there in the fight. Now it's, hey, let's do this holistic approach where we don't necessarily rely on the meds, but we rely on other means to help you get through. What do you think about that advance now?
Well, I think it's of course it's always great. We're always advancing.
Right.
Could have been done sooner. Yes. We could yeah. And I think it was around in my personal experience and opinion, and I think it was around 2006 when they finally started. And I think it was the shooting in Fort Bragg. I think it was in Fort Bragg in North Carolina. Fort Hood. It was a Fort Hood? Okay. Yeah. And it was around 2006, right? I think it was around that time. And then that's when it started becoming more mainstream.
Right.
media, and this is happening, this happened. So it was becoming more of an attention, oh, we're having a lot of veterans coming back with issues, and they just call it post-traumatic stress syndrome. And you're right, yeah, a lot of things were, hey, let's treat the symptoms, because we know this is what you're going through, depression, this and that. And if I'm not a doctor, but from what I see is that a lot of these medications, the receptors, they're more targeting your serotonin levels, dopamine levels, those receptors, those that keep you, hey, I'm happy now. But it is not treating the underlying condition that leads to that. And then because, like I mentioned before, the hypoparticipation, or something like that. But anyways, the low production of hormones from the pituitary gland and PTSD, those two symptoms, they overlap and they look the same. So it was, hey, we're treating PTSD, but we're not really looking into maybe hormonal levels. There could be some other issue. And whenever Dr. Wilkinson, whenever he did the control studies, and he did have people who were deployed, Iraq and Afghanistan, those who were a group who had multiple concussions with run blast injuries, those who didn't, and there was others that just didn't deploy and everything. Of course, these guys didn't have nothing. The guys maybe had so and so, maybe small 2%, but the other group that was more focused with the multiple concussions, if I remember the numbers, it was over 25% or 25% or 50% that the symptoms of that the effects of the pituitary system, that there was, when they did blood tests, they found, a lot of the guys, they didn't produce enough hormones. They had issues with their, as far as I would call it overall hormone imbalance.
Definitely is.
So it's a lot. To me, it's still new. I'm still looking at it. Like I said, today it's something I'm gonna bring up with my doctor coming up, and see maybe this is something different approach that we can do. I do appreciate everything they did. Like there's a lot of good things, like the prolonged exposure deals.
Right.
Have therapy. They have different kinds of therapies. I did go through the Rover program. It was like a 1 month inpatient.
Wow.
And but like I said, I for me personally, I've been through so much blast injuries that even that, like I said, even the slightest, the gunshot inside the building, I would kind of blank out a little bit. I would see white, and that was, to me, that was something I kept inside of me, that I didn't say anything. I was like, oh shit, man, I can't see. Like, bing, like, oh man, I better see. Oh, okay, it's back. Okay, it's back. Okay, fuck,
And I mean, the things you went through, and plus what you've been going through, is as far as the different treatments that the VA is trying with you, with the prolonged exposure, the Rover. It's kind of like they're trying to catch up now based on things that they've known for years. I mean, when our grandfathers and dads came back from Korea, from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, all that data didn't really catch up until we really went to war again in 2001.
Yeah.
They really weren't looking at it. So it was a hard time for them to catch up. And a lot of the comments now is about the backlog that's going on right now. Within the VA. I mean, Alex Nieves, my brother from the 411 Chemical Company, a lot of backlog with the VA processing claims, and a lot of backlog from the government as a whole, processing a lot of things, from regular HR stuff, still processing retirements, the VA processing benefits, etc. It all gets bogged down, and we don't want to go in there and say, hey, I understand what you're going through. We want you to help me now. And that's the hard part right there, because a lot of our brothers and sisters that are coming out, they want to be helped. They want to feel like they're normal.
Definitely.
They're new normal to come out now. And just saying, you're feeling the same thing, even though you were the guy that was supposed to take care of people. You have the same issues that those people you were taking care of. I mean, you got the Purple Heart for a reason, because you got blown up. And when you get blown up, your perspective changes. And like you said, even now, if you're in a building, you hear a boom, it kind of messes you up. If you're like the highways around Houston, there's so many loud vehicles that go drive around Houston, so many things that happen around Houston. It's insane the things that can happen in Houston. So many people, such a little place. And those things can trigger you in a heartbeat, but we still need to keep pressing forward. And
Right.
what I think you've been doing all this time, and you're not alone, brother. And
Yes,
you need to understand you're not alone. And I love that you're doing research into everything, all your symptoms, you're researching it and you're bringing it to your doctors. And that probably throws them off completely. You say, oh, this actually wants help. He doesn't want drugs. He wants help. Well, and that's what we need to look forward to.
Well, the game changer is this new ICD code 10, because it's going to be revised. What's already revised, and they revise it every 2 years, I believe. And they just revised it here coming up in October 2022 for the 2023 version. And putting myself back into what I'm studying for health information management, and as a medical biller and coder, I see it as they need that, and it's in terms that I don't like to say. It's kind of to say it plainly, is that they knew it was there. Is there something, but there's nothing really we can do about it. So we're going to call it, post-traumatic stress syndrome. But there's other symptoms, but it's not elsewhere classified in NEC. But then this is a game changer, because from the VA, from other agencies, from Dr. Charles Wilkinson, his studies and everything help install that new ICD-10 code, which is going to help not only for expenses for treatment for the VA and so forth, and also for tracking down as far as for research and studies, but also for veterans, from where they can be. Now, this is for they could specifically be able to claim these symptoms, if it's to me, like I said, it's like we're a lot of us, especially that we've been in that, especially with the infantry division, mortarmen, especially mortarmen. I know the guys, because I used to go out with the 81s out in the field with them. I've held one, fire, holding on one, fire. Even being around that was loud. Even though you had your plugs, being around the initial blast from the 81s. So even stuff like that I think maybe even corpsmen now that are active duty, is maybe some things that they need to be aware of, to look at, hey, there should be immediate screening, routine screening for blast concussions, and that involves blood work. Let's check this. Let's make sure your hormone levels, because we don't want to think that, oh, you're just having post-traumatic stress syndrome. Hey, you'll get over it. Don't worry, you'll get over it. Just work. Stay busy. But we can only stay busy so long, and until we just get angry and tired, and then by then we're just disgruntled veterans.
You're labeled as a disgruntled. You're definitely. So, Chris, it's been great chatting with you here. And
yes, sir. Thank you.
How does someone get in contact with you if they want you to either talk about your journey or even just have you on their show as well?
Yeah, no problem. I do have like I said, I don't really do social media. It's just something there's nothing wrong with it. There's just pros and cons. But I do have a YouTube channel that I kept, and that for me purposely, I probably want to try to just do it as far as a video blog. So just in case, anything happens to me, always, my kids and family, my grandchildren, oh, that was grandpa, dang, hopefully, but I do have there, should have my email in there with it. Says CRUEDAFMF713@gmail.com. So awesome. You should be able to find that there. Yeah.
That's a unique email. I'll put it in the show notes so people can find you if they want to talk to you, and even just to learn your journey, because this is about 45 minutes, 47 minutes of your journey.
We could probably go life in your journey. Yeah, we could probably go through a whole watch with this, and then look at it. Damn, it's already time to go.
And raise your glass, man. Raise your Jim Beam up that you're drinking right now. Cheers to you. Happy
Cheers to
Veterans
you.
Day, brother.
Yes, sir.
And to all your brothers and sisters that are out there. Let's sip it up here.
Amen.
Thank you again, Chris, for being on. We'll go to the outro right now, and then we'll chat a little bit after.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you for everything you do.
All righty. Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. It's themisfitnation.com to catch up on all of our episodes and also to get some of that great Misfit Nation gear. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are